Buttery Babe, coming to you from my kitchen with a brand spanking new recipe. Now, my beloved mother, camera girl, has told me several times that Halvah is her reason for living. Not her children, not her husband, the grandchildren, even her dog, but Halvah. So I decided I'll make it into a cookie. Her next favorite reason for living. Turn the camera around so they can see how excited you are. So, if you are not Jewish or Mediterranean, you may not know what halva is. That's okay, you are forgiven. This is little crumbles of halva. Halva is basically fudge that's made out of sesame and sugar. So you grind the sesame almost like you're making a tahini. So sesame, grind it, and then you add sugar and you cook it, and you make fudge. It kind of has this texture in between sawdust and fudge. It's delicious. This one is plain, so it's just sesame color because it's just sesame. You'll also see it. You'll also find it with chocolate swirl, which is my favorite. So it'll be like marbleized, or with pistachios or pieces of almond. Those are the traditional ones. Sometimes you'll see funkier ones. Stay away. Stick with traditional. Plain, chocolate swirl, pistachio, almond. So halva is obviously the star of our show. We're going to start with 4 ounces. Other ingredients in these delightful cookies, I have to check my list because there's a lot of stuff on here. Now it's on really, but for me. So I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a cup of brown sugar, that's the easy one, a stick of butter, an egg, half a cup of powdered sugar, and then in my little bowl I have a teaspoon of baking powder, quarter teaspoon of baking soda, quarter teaspoon of salt, we're using our delicious kosher salt today, and something to give it a little bit of, what is that? Cardamom. So this is a quarter teaspoon of ground cardamom. It looks like this in the jar. You can also get cardamom pods. They look kind of like bloated pumpkin seeds, and then you crack them open, there's like little bitty pellets in there. That's too much effort. I buy it ground. They're also going to put in a little bit of vanilla. If you're not familiar with cardamom, if you had chai tea, that main flavor in there, besides like the ginger and sugar and milk, and of course tea, the main spice in there is cardamom. I love it. It's kind of like mysterious, it's smoky, like how I think of myself, without the smoky, because you know, asthma. But anyway, here we are making our halva cookies. The first thing you're going to do is preheat your oven at 350. Okay, really the first thing you're going to do is get your stick of butter to room temperature. Then you're going to preheat the oven at 350. Get out your stand mixer or a big mixing bowl and the little handheld majiggy or a wooden spoon if you're going to go old school. And then let's start making our cookies. So, my handy dandy stand mixer, which I love. Into our stand mixer, we are going to put our stick of butter. Yay. And again, room temp. Get in there. The butter is being uncooperative today. So we're going to put in the butter, the brown sugar, also being uncooperative, clump, and the powdered sugar. You should probably sift it, but I'm too lazy, so in it goes. We're going to put that on low and let it start to get combined. We want it to be nice and smooth and a little bit fluffy. See, the brown sugar is going to help actually the brown sugar helps get everything incorporated because it's got that rougher texture. So it'll help it all mix together. While that's doing this thing, I'm just going to break our egg. I like to crack it right on my sheet tray. Very exciting, I know. Put the garbage over there. Garbage. Okay. So that's going. We're going to make it go up a little higher. And we want this to get nice and smooth and fluffy. It's doing its thing. We're going to just very gently break our halva up into smaller chunks. So you can do this 2 ways. You can put the halva in so every bite is uniform with smushed up halva. I kind of like the surprise bite. So I'm just going to break it up slightly. And then we will mix it in just at the very end. Now, see how our butter is getting nice and smooth? We're gonna put in our egg and let that get nice and smooth as well. So, see how that's got a great battery texture? Now we're going to turn it off. We're going to put our baking powder, baking soda, salt, and cardamom into the flour. Just give that a slight mix so it's more evenly incorporated. Nice and even. Now we're going to go back to our mixer. We're going to put in about a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm gonna eyeball it because, you know, that's how I go. There we go. And then we're gonna put in about half the flour and let that mix in, and then we're gonna put in the other half. So, about half the flour, remember that's got in there the cardamom, salt, baking powder, baking soda. And remember, low, so you don't have to make a big messy mess in your kitchen. Just until that is mostly combined, like right now. And then, and we're gonna put in the rest. And then all of it. And then on low again. Because it's got the brown sugar and the powdered sugar, this is going to be a really soft cookie. We will probably burn our batch on purpose because Camera Girl loves her cookies a little bit burnt. So now we're going to do an important thing. We're going to... Crab, like, what are you doing? Did you eat too much kibble? Okay. Like me, the dog eats a little too much. So we're going to take our little spatula and make sure that we get everything out from the bottom so that we can do our final mix because we want a nice even cookie. We don't want any funky spots. Push that off. One more mix. And now we're gonna put in the star of the show, our little chunks of halva. Ready? Watch them go in. Ooh. If you want to use the chocolate swirl in here, it'd be really good. If you could also throw in some chocolate chips, but I don't really want to take away from the halva flavor. And then this is just like 1, 2, done. See how we have some chunks of halva and some is all scooped up and mushed? That's exactly how we want it. So we're going to open up the mixer. Use our fingers, get all that off the paddle. Yeah, sometimes it's good to be messy. And then we're gonna take the bowl off and we're gonna come over here to the baking sheet. Just over here, Mom. This one, because it is a super soft cookie, we wanna put a parchment down. It'll make it easier for us to get the cookies out of the oven. Let's clean up a little space. I'm a messy baker, that's why I need such a big counter. And we're gonna get our cookie scoop because I forgot to get it out earlier. You can totally use a spoon. I like to scoop because I want them all to be the same size. It'll make them bake more evenly and also cut down on any fighting over who gets the bigger cookies. So, literally, take your scoop, squish it against the bowl to make sure it's nice and compact in there. And then there. Scoop. Nice and compact. Like that. We want these are gonna spread, so you want them to be about 2 inches apart. My other cookie's already in the oven. I'm gonna take the other batch out and we'll continue. So, these are our Halvah cookies, all ready to go in the oven. Perfectly scooped and delicious. They're gonna go into their 325-degree oven for about 12 minutes. Yay! Emily Adler, my Halvah cookies have been in the oven for 12 minutes at 3 1/4. Let's check out the results. Whoa! Oh, hi, Peppa. So, look at that. Remember I said these were going to be super duper soft. So you see how the halva just like kind of melted into a beautiful little marbleized swirl. We're going to pull these out of the oven. They're going to rest for 10 minutes on those trays before you move them to the rack. And they're going to stay soft. They will not get crunchy. If you want them crunchier, you can pat them down and put them in for 4 1/4 for about 5 minutes. But I think we're going to leave them soft. It's Emily Cutchins Adler, the Buttery Babe, coming to you from my kitchen. Please be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course my website, www.butterybabe.com.